Market is reacting to the drama of SEC. Yes, it's true. SEC is back with their drama. Now they claim BNB, BUSD, along with others like Solana, Cardano, Matic, are securities. That's a hard-hitting thing, and what you have to watch right now is how BNB price is reacting, because that is going to be deciding how the crypto market move from here. If you see this one collapsing, that is going to be a dangerous move in the market for anyone having almost any asset, which means the value of assets in Binance drops and then the mayhem starts. But yes, we still see people giving you the idea, I'm gonna buy in. But remember guys, yesterday in our video, we talked about this possibility. We have this, which means we most likely will drop down, and we told you 0.5. Now, the price did go below that, but right now it's just above 0.5. So it kind of makes some sense. Now, why does that really matter? Because if you remember, 5 days back before this was out, I was actually giving you guys this thought process. RSI is breaking to the downside. In BNB, that means there is something coming. And I actually gave you guys this idea, like this is going to be the most important thing to watch in June 2023. And while I was making this, I really had the feeling like, okay, this is something which I saw back in the time with Luna. What did we say? Okay, get out, take your profits. This is going to be a bad option for you to continue, a good option for you to take the profits. We know what happened afterwards. Then if you were still buying this asset when it was at the bottom, close to $1, 1.2, I saw a lot of people buying that. And I was like, I think it's going to drop from here. Be careful with this asset. What happened afterwards? We dropped another 40%. Now, if you remember, Celsius, you guys actually got this chart way before the actual stuff happened. At the top, saying consider taking profits, it can actually drop 35 to 60%. Now we go look at the chart from that price point, it dropped 58%. Not exactly the best, but almost close, 60%, almost close to the roof. And if we then go on to look for the FTT, one of the major stuff here was I actually told you guys, like, I really think there is something like Luna and Celsius, some similarities, right? I hope I'm wrong, but if this lower support is broken, then this asset may move like Luna or Celsius. And I even went on to say, even if Sam has billions, we'll have to see if the market as a whole breaks lower, can he really resist it? That was the thought process. And before the actual collapse began, CZ Binance gave you the idea like this, and I was like, okay, now this really makes sense. There is something wrong. And what happened? The market actually dropped. And even when this was dropping, I told you guys, okay, this is the measured move, but don't just jump into this asset. Why? Because the dust settlement in this asset took place at 0.00000. So you really didn't have to do anything. Even if you bought at $1, you went on 99% to the downside. So don't make that kind of mistake right now here in the market, because the market does show you opportunity if you are looking for one. The market does show you buying areas if you are interested in one. And if you are looking at what's happening in the market, big money and big movements are happening right now. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Right now, while you look at all the scenarios, you're watching things are evolving, and some of this especially looks attractive. Some of this especially point towards there is something changing for XRP. While you see majority of the assets are getting hit hard like this, say Solana, Cardano, Matic, Filecoin, Cosmos, Sand, Decentraland, Axe, Algo, AXS, Scotty, now they are keeping this open. Like this includes, but not limited to, right? They're actually opening up the era, and they're most likely, if you leave them alone, they're going to come and say almost all these assets are securities, and they're going to file those for sure. Idiots does idiotic things. For sure, common sense is never the common practice, especially for these kind of idiots. So while you actually look at how things are evolving right now, it kind of gives you a clear perspective. Okay, the RSI is breaking lower. So this is a time for you and me who are looking at the chart right now for XRP to say, okay, the price just broke to the downside. Let me act sensibly. Let me actually see how the price action is going to move. If, say, the price action actually moves slowly to the upside, creeping upside, slowly taking like, way more candles than it took to come to the downside, that means the buyers are actually weak and you may actually see the price dropping back down, and that can be the ABC leg to the downside for sure. So right now, if you are trying to look for the bottom, I would say zoom out a little bit, because that's going to give you way better perspective than when you are zoomed in. Why? One, this is a major support. Two, the pattern which you are watching here in this asset right now shows you there is a big possibility that this is a rounded bottom. That's one option. Two, now the market usually plays out like this because most recently we saw XRP doing this inverse head and shoulder pattern, and it just shows you that this also happens to look like the market may actually move here, acting like this is a big shoulder, and then change its mindset and say, okay, yeah, that was true, but right now I'm going in for a huge head, which means you may actually watch something like this here, and that will definitely show you the possibility that we have this range of 0.45, 0.46 as a support is still active. So it's up to us to wait and see the momentum at which the price is dropping. If we are dropping below this, yeah, we're going to go somewhere close to 0.4. But remember, it all depends on Bitcoin and how Bitcoin is moving. That's one. Two, the market itself is watching BNB. Now, when we say that, okay, BNB is about to do something and June is going to be the crazy month which you'll have to watch, the crazy scenario, now we are coming here and on the weekly, we are breaking to the downside. That's panic. Great. But the news just came out today, right? So we're zooming into the market. We want to literally see what the market is doing today, how the market is reacting to the news. So it's not just the US market which we'll have to watch. We'll have to watch how the European market acts. We'll have to watch how the Asian market. So give it like 24 hours, say 48 hours for everyone to look at this new information and act accordingly. That's where you actually see massive opportunities. Now, if this is bouncing back hard, that means the world now says we don't give a damn about SEC in the US. We are outside the US and we really don't care what the SEC think. If that's the direction which the market is going, that's going to be absolutely great. Now, I wish this time I'm wrong. The price bounces back up, you go higher. The scenario which we talked about here, that's invalidated. That's going to be a great thing to watch. But let's be true to ourselves, right? While we observe the fact that the RSI is showing you some pain, let's actually wait and see what the RSI is going to show us. When RSI gives you a divergence to the upside, saying, okay, we have some room to the upside and we are going back to the upside, that's when you should go bullish. Right now, when you're looking at the market, this really matters. There's the Bitcoin chart. It's touching a new local low. So if you are looking at the direction of the price action right now, you'll literally have to accept the fact that we have the short-term pattern here which we broke to the downside. Right now we are below that. So clearly there is something happening in the market which we understand, like, okay, you put in a lower high, you put in lower low. So you are literally trending to the downside. So if you actually put this narrative, you are now doing like this. So you may bounce back up, but again, this level may come in and act as a resistance. And if so, now you are looking for another leg to the downside. So don't accelerate yourself while you're trying to make some decisions about buying or selling. If you follow the price action and understand the fact that we are on a macro scale dropping back to a support level, which is bullish. Why? Because you now go back and now, again, you can actually reduce the noise here and say, okay, this is something I'm watching. If the price is coming somewhere close to like 24,000 or below that, that's going to be an absolutely monstrous opportunity for me. But I would also put that argument here. Let's go look at the charts on the weekly. Let's compare it with XRP and say, is it most likely that XRP is about to pull something bigger? So here we are watching the XRP chart on a weekly. Now we'll have to compare this with Bitcoin and the entire market for sure. But one of the important thing I would say is the weekly candle which closed already gave us a confirmation that we are closing above this particular level, which is actually massively bullish. Great. Now you haven't actually corrected a little bit since you started bouncing off from the 0.4 level, which was the previous level of resistance turned into a support. So that means now if you come back to the moving average, test the moving average and bounce off, it is going to be a macro level of bullishness entering back into the market. Now, why would I say that? When you actually jump back into the charts and look for XRP on, say, a daily, a 3-day, whichever view you want to take in, depending on your time horizon in the market, you'll actually look at, okay, let me take the 21 or 9 or 21 to 50, depending on how long of an investor you are. If you are like, okay, I'm here for next couple of years, that's a different story. You are looking at the 50 to 200. If you're like, okay, I'm looking for next 6 months towards a year or somewhere like 9 months, now most likely you are looking at 21 to 50-day moving average. And each time this crosses, we highlighted the fact that whenever this happens, we actually get to see that the price actually drops. We showed you the understanding clearly. The Wyckoff pattern is showing you this to the upside. But what you have to understand is there are times when you look at the market and say there is going to be volatility. There are different possibilities which are evolving in the market and you follow the direction of that moving averages. And now you are literally watching the exact same thing happening. What? The price is reacting to the moving averages crossing to the upside, or at least the market psychology is slowly peaking local top at a time when you see this happening in the market. So let it be the bearish side of things, let it be the bullish side of things. It kind of works almost all the time. So if it's me, I'm looking at that and saying, okay, if that's the local top formation coming in, that means we are looking for a drop to the downside. I'm looking at the volume and I'm saying, it's interesting. We actually got some buying momentum, after which right now we have a lot of selling volume coming in. So we need to see where the panic is actually pushing us. If the price action maintain the levels here at 0.45, 0.47, that is going to be massively bullish. Now, let's actually take this into consideration. Say from the top, if we drop to this level, that is just a 13% drop. And if we put the argument like, okay, Bitcoin is about to drop and Bitcoin can go down all the way towards 22 to 23,000, now we are putting the argument that Bitcoin can drop 25%. Get an idea? Meaning, if XRP is only dropping 13% at a time when Bitcoin is dropping 26%, what you are watching on XRP to Bitcoin chart is something which we have discussed here a lot of times. This is slowly creeping to the upside. This is slowly pushing you to the upside. And that means money is changing. Now, you can compare this with XRP BTC. You can compare this with XRP Ether. You can look at almost everything to understand how the market is behaving with respect to one asset to another. We are not actually taking a meme coin here. We are looking for the large cap coins. We are looking for those with heavy volume. And the way we look at the market right now, there is a huge possibility for this thing happening. Because for all these others, the fight is just starting. Whereas XRP has been in code for like 2 years. And we are almost getting towards that Hinman email release. Now, we'll have to see whether that happens in 10 days or we'll have to wait further. We don't know. The way we have seen this, everything gets extended, dragged further. They use the time to bleed the short retail investors. Those who are long-term, they can still survive. But what matters is the sentiment is slowly changing. People are starting to understand the fact that this asset is massively undervalued, considering the fundamentals, considering weights in the market cycle. So as soon as you see a little bit of pump, above the 0.6 range, I believe like people are going to flock in. And this is one of the reasons why I actually told you in this video, like I believe like this range is going to be a corrective wave one. And then from there, as you move forward, this is what you're looking at. Even if you correct inside that short-term 4-hour chart to the downside, on a daily, you're actually making a rounded bottom. Now, it may not make sense because the panic, the fear is in the market, right? Same thing yesterday. It was bullish sentiment in the market. People were saying, we are going to take off, we're going to fly, we're going to move higher. And that is one of the reasons why you see the big guys coming out and saying, I'm buying this asset. And that means now it's up to you, right? If you want to buy, you can buy. But the thought process here is like, yes, that's true. The pattern is valid. But if you are trying to look at the timing aspect of this, then you're like, okay, that doesn't look good, right? You may actually come back down based on the history. 65% chances are you are going to come down. And that literally happened. We are watching that right now. So if you are in the market and you're looking at all these assets, look for how this asset reacted to the market fluctuation, because this is going to be the most important thing you'll have to understand while you look at your portfolio. If the market dropped 5% and your portfolio dropped 10, that's not good. Fine. Now you look at the average fluctuation. Yeah, the entire market dropped 5% because Bitcoin as a whole is down around 5%. So that kind of balances the market. But what you would like to see is look through all these top 100 coins and say, what's the average fluctuation there? You see Binance coin, the BNB is 8% down. Great. You see another like Solana is 8% down. So you kind of get the narrative here. Those assets which are on the SEC paper, the notice, they are down like 8%. Still, you see a lot of other assets which are down way more than that, right? You actually see other assets. So now your question is like, were they at a resistance after a run up? If so, it makes sense. They were preparing for a correction and this just pushed in more sellers into it. If not, if they were at a support and that support broke, this is going to be a bad thing to consider, because the average you're looking at is something like 5%. And if it happens in this particular way, that means you are literally looking for an average of 8 to 9%. So your standard deviation from 4 to 8% is like the main sigma you're looking at. And if it happens to be like your asset is already dropping 20% a day, now that's a trouble. You're like 3 to 5 sigma, the standard deviations away from the daily fluctuation. So it should be watched carefully. You should actually go on each assets of your portfolio in your portfolio, whether it's in Binance, whether it's in Dethrone, whether it's in any exchange. Make sure you understand which assets you own and why you own them. Because if not, when the prices drop like this, you really don't know what to do. If you bought an asset because someone else sold you to buy that, now you're confused. You really don't understand why you bought it, and you really don't know whether you should average down or just drop that loss. So make sure you take your time to understand each project which you're entering in. And if you're looking for these kind of updates on the right time for the right asset before these kind of massive shakeouts happen in the market, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below, where you actually get all of this along with the updates for many of these assets which you'll have in your portfolio. So guys, that's it for today. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.